Hey there, apprentices! Welcome to today's Tailgate Talk on the Canadian Electrical Code 2024, Section 12. I'm your host, and as a master electrician, I'm super excited about this explainer. Today, we are focusing squarely on mastering busways and splitters. Look, whether you're running massive feeders in a commercial high-rise or setting up a brand new industrial shop floor, you are going to encounter this gear. So we're going to break down all that heavy code jargon into plain, everyday English. That way, you can absolutely crush your installations on the job site, breeze through your inspections, and most importantly, ace these questions on your Red Seal exam. Let's get into it.
All right, here are our work orders for today's explainer. First, a quick welcome to Section 12. Then, where can we install them? Followed by supports, clearances, and extensions. After that, we'll hit reductions and tricky taps, run through some Red Seal practice questions, and wrap it all up with today's Red Seal takeaway.
Okay, Part 1. Welcome to Section 12.
So you open up the code book to Rule 12-2000. The absolute crucial point here for a splitter is knowing its threshold size. The code explicitly states that a splitter is required whenever you tap 2 or more wires into a main feeder that is larger than number 6 copper or number 4 aluminum. You might be wondering, why those specific sizes? Well, think about it. Once you get bigger than number 6 copper, standard wire nuts and pigtails just don't cut it safely anymore, right? You need a dedicated metal enclosure with proper terminal blocks or bus bars to make those heavy-duty taps. And remember, the rule says this enclosure must be in an accessible location. You literally cannot bury this thing behind drywall without a removable cover.
Moving right along to Part 2. Where can we actually install them? Okay, picture this real-world scenario. You're on a commercial site, and your foreman points to a massive run of busway. He says, "Hey, run that straight out into the exterior yard to feed the new chiller unit." Can you actually do it?
Well, simply put, no way. You absolutely cannot. Rule 12-2000 tells us that busways and splitters are generally meant for exposed, indoor work. You can't put them outdoors or in wet or damp locations unless the gear is specifically stamped and marked by the manufacturer for those exact environments. If you don't see a NEMA 3R or an equivalent weatherproof rating stamped right there on the metal, keep it inside, for sure.
And honestly, the code goes even further with its forbidden zones. You need to keep busways and splitters entirely out of elevator hoistways. Why? Because you definitely don't want moving elevator cars anywhere near high-amperage exposed bus bars. Keep them out of storage battery rooms too, where explosive hydrogen gas or corrosive acid vapors could just eat away at the metal enclosures. And finally, keep them far away from areas subject to mechanical damage. Basically, if a forklift in a warehouse can easily back into your busway, you either need to move the busway entirely or build a serious, heavy-duty physical barrier to protect it.
All right, Section 3. Supports, clearances, and extensions. Now, let's look at the classic horizontal versus vertical runs. This beautifully illustrates a major exam trap. Both horizontal and vertical runs need supports at maximum intervals of 1.5 meters, but vertical runs have extra specific rules. If you're running a busway straight up a high-rise electrical shaft, it must be explicitly marked by the manufacturer as suitable for vertical installation, and you have to provide support at every single floor it passes through. Now I want you to burn this magic number into your brain. 2. Rule 12-200 states that if a warehouse worker, a janitor, or honestly anyone unqualified can walk right up to your vertical busway, you must provide mechanical protection up to exactly 2 meters above the floor. This is literally to stop someone with a sweeping broom or a ladder from accidentally knocking into a live, high-amperage busway.
And here's your next magic number, 300. If you are punching a busway vertically through a dry floor, it must be totally enclosed where it passes through the floor itself, plus an extra 300 millimeters above the floor just to be safe. Why 300 mil? Well, when the cleaning crew comes rolling by with a sloshing mop and bucket, you really do not want dirty water splashing up and dripping straight into a ventilated busway enclosure.
Next up, Section 4. Reductions and tricky taps.
You know the drill. Normally, when you reduce a wire size, you need a new, smaller breaker to protect it, right? But Rule 12-2012 gives us a bit of a break for busways. If you want to omit overcurrent protection when you're reducing a busway size, you have to perfectly follow 4 specific steps. The absolute most heavily tested parts of this rule are steps 1 and 2. Specifically, you must keep the smaller run under 15 meters in length and ensure it has a rating of at least 1/3 the rating of the upstream breaker.
Seriously, if you just memorize the 15-meter 1/3 rule, you are gonna bag an easy point on the red seal.
Okay, let's talk about a huge, massive job site violation. I see apprentices do this all the time, and let me tell you, the inspector will fail it instantly. Rule 12-2020 dictates that a splitter is strictly for tapping into the bus bars to distribute power. It is absolutely not a convenient pull box for routing your unrelated branch circuits. If you've got some lighting circuits that just happen to need a path through the electrical room, pipe them around. Do not pass them through the splitter trough just because it looks spacious inside.
And hey, don't forget the classic electrical theory trap. Rule 12-2004 reminds us that if you're running alternating current through any enclosure made of magnetic material, like, say, standard steel, every single conductor of that circuit, line 1, line 2, line 3, and the neutral, they must all be run inside together. By keeping them all bunched together, their magnetic fields actually cancel each other out. If you mess up and run phase A in one steel enclosure and phase B in a totally different one, those steel enclosures are going to act exactly like induction cooktops. They will heat up, cook your wire insulation right off, and eventually cause a massive fire.
All right, part 5, red seal practice questions. Let's put this all to the test. Read this scenario with me carefully, because it combines a couple of concepts. You are running a busway through a false ceiling, but that ceiling is also a plenum handling the building's ventilation system. So what specific type of busway does Rule 12-2000 demand you install?
The answer? It absolutely must be the totally enclosed type. No ventilated busways are allowed up there because we do not want high-speed air currents blowing dust or combustible particles directly onto live bus bars. Also, keep in mind that false ceilings come with some pretty nasty derating rules. If the temperature up there climbs above 30 degrees Celsius, you have to derate the busway's capacity, and you can never ever run it in an ambient temperature higher than 50 degrees Celsius.
Okay, here's a quick-fire, true or false question that trips up a ton of apprentices on the exam, mostly because earlier we established that splitters are generally for exposed work.
Believe it or not, the answer is actually true. While they are generally for exposed work, Rule 12-2000 Subrule 7 gives us a sneaky exception. Surprisingly, yes, you can flush mount a splitter into a wall, but only if you ensure those covers are completely accessible for future maintenance. That means you can't drywall over the cover, you can't mud it, and you definitely can't put a permanent bookcase in front of it.
And finally, Section 6, today's red seal takeaway. Let's lock this in. Seriously, grab your phone and take a screenshot of this cheat sheet right now. This is the core of Section 12 for the exam. You gotta memorize these magic numbers. Remember your 1.5-meter maximum supports for both horizontal and vertical runs. Remember your 2-meter mechanical protection height for unqualified personnel. Remember your 300-millimeter totally enclosed protection above floors. Keep that 15-meter and 1/3 ampacity tap reduction rule in your back pocket, and never ever use a splitter as a pull box for unrelated circuits.
You know, mastering the code book isn't just about passing a test. It's about becoming a highly competent professional journey person who does the job right the very first time. But tell me, if you had to route a 400-amp feeder through a highly corrosive industrial wash bay tomorrow, how would you pipe it to avoid Section 12 entirely? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for studying with me. If you found this lesson helpful, please like, subscribe, and comment with the next CEC topic you'd like to learn. Keep studying, stay safe, and good luck on your Red Seal journey.